Council meetings are long and boring. Wouldn't it be great if they were short and unboring? This is why I have invented the 5-minute meeting. All right. Ashland City Council meeting of September 21st started out with the Airport Commission presentation. The airport guy says, hey, we're redoing the runway. It's going to cost $3 million. And 99% of that is funded by the FAA and the state. And the airport is still budget neutral. They make money even, and they're working on an emergency evacuation plan and looking at installing security cameras, and they're trying to put as much solar out there as possible. And then the ad hoc Pioneer Hall Community Center report. Oh, the ad hoc guy number one said our mission was to make these buildings habitable and safe and not change anything about them and do it at the lowest cost. And some things will be out of code. But not unsafe. Almost all buildings are out of code, so don't let that phrase out of code scare you. Let's just look at Pioneer Hall real quick. Minor roof repairs are needed and some shoring up of some logs near a window. And then the community center needs a little more work. That's that wall that isn't plumbed is a little off, but that was stabilized in the 80s and hasn't moved since the 80s, so that can just kind of stay at that little angle. It's weird looking, but then the weird old roof isn't to code. But the code says that the roof must be able to hold 12 inches of wet snow, and that hasn't happened in Ashland in a long time. But just to be extra safe, it can be fixed with an arched internal frame, and then we need to clear out the back hillside area where there's some debris and it's a fire danger and a drug addict magnet. Apparently they go there and throw needles. Apparently, so the whole total cost of this presentation fixes is between $215,000 and $275,000. And then this one goes, where is she? She goes, hey, doesn't the city have to follow special regulations, and then that's going to add a lot of costs? And then ad hoc city guy number two said, oh yeah, we included all those extra costs in there. And then the historical commission guy says, hey, look, I've had a lot of meetings and seen a lot of documents, and the ad hoc recommendations, they're going to work. That's fine. But this is my personal opinion, by the way. Just not the historical commission didn't approve my position or anything. But that arched internal frame will ruin everything and make future renovations impossible, and I hate it. And so we should spend lots more time and money and only rebuild from the studs. And then this guy goes, hey, I move we just accept ad hoc committee's recommendations. I'm on board with that. And this one goes, I move to amend that motion, and we wait, again, for the city attorney to do a liability assessment of opening of those buildings, because what if this, and what if that, and what if everything? And then interesting, there's a vote on this amendment whereby this guy, wait a minute, this one says, I agree with that amendment, and this guy goes, yeah, I agree with that amendment. And then this one goes, I don't agree with that amendment. And this one goes, I don't agree with that amendment. And this one goes, I do agree with that amendment. And then this one goes, I don't agree with that amendment, which makes it a tie. And this one goes, I don't agree with the amendment either. Amendment not passed. So then this one goes, hey, we just got this ad hoc report. So now we need to have more input from the Historic Commission and the lawyers. And this guy goes, oh yeah, and then maybe some public comments, of course, and maybe, well, what about SEEP and all that stuff? And then this guy goes, call the question, because that means no more debate. And so then there's a vote, and it is a tie. These three say go ahead with the ad hoc commission's recommendations, and these say, oh no, we should not go ahead. And so it's a tie. And so the mayor has a tiebreaker and says, we go ahead with the ad hoc commission recommendations, which means the community center may open soon, and then $250,000 away from some fixes on the way, and then those things will be going, I think. And then public forum. The woman in white hair said climate change is the most important thing. And could council please write a letter to the DEQ, Oregon Department of EQs, and supporting Governor Brown's climate initiative. At the very least you could do. And then city manager's report, he says, we've had some staff shortages. So we weren't able to set up that thank you message board for first responders on the website. And then he said, it goes, city manager and city attorney recruitment is underway, and we're receiving applications. It's going smooth. And then the consent agenda came along, and 3 commission volunteers were all approved. And then the social services grant allocation. The city housing specialist says the city has $335K for 1 year instead of the usual 2 years, and there are lots of applications. And then the housing and human services guy says, oh man, we have a lot of need in Ashland, and we have a lot of great volunteers too. So there were all 11 organizations that applied got a thoughtful and decent percentage of their request, and so everyone approved it. And so I thought it was for 1 year, but it might have been for 2 years. And who got the money? It was the usual suspects: the Food Angels, La Clinica, Aura, Peace House, St. Vincent de Paul, Meals on Wheels, Jobs for Justice, Maslow Project, and there's like 4 or 5 more. You recognize them, and it seems all good. Everyone seems happy. And then the Ashland Parks and Rec request. The city manager says APRC, Parks and Rec Commission, wants 90% of the restaurant tax money until 2040. But restaurant tax money was intended to pay for streets, and so he said, I suggest we have a public vote changing that, or have the council make a resolution explaining their position on all the specifics that are to follow here. And then a public comment came along, and a woman with this forehead said, studies show that people love looking at our parks, so we should fund this. And then a woman who volunteers with kids at the mountain park said, Parks deserves all the money they want. And then another woman with a blurry camera said, pollinator gardens and North Mountain Park are the best, so parks should get whatever they ask for. And so this one says, where did she go? She says, not her, not him. This one. This one says, hey, this proposal doesn't add any money to Parks and Rec, right? And the city guy goes, no, it does not. And then the Parks and Rec guy says, look, we don't care either way. But the restaurant tax is more reliable than guessing what every year's budget committee or council might decide to allocate to parks. And it's not untrue. And this one said something. I'm not certain exactly what that was. And then another parks commissioner said blah 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 blah, and then said the recent lower funding on in the budget down to 1.8% of property tax. So we can totally handle that. You have to. We're not babies or anything. And he was totally complaining about that 1.8% secretly. And then this one says, this one says, hey, parks funding is fine. I'm sure it's less than they want, and what else did he say? And it's uncertain, but all the city budgets are like less than they want and uncertain. But let's not change everything out the window until 2030. And we don't even have we have a very uncertain amount in the restaurant tax fund. So it seems rash. And then the city manager says, we'll get $2 million in cash sitting there right now in the restaurant fund, and streets, which is legally supposed to get whatever money they want, only needs $500,000. So then what are we going to do with the $1.5 million? And this one goes, hey, I got an idea. She goes, hey, I move that staff comes back with a resolution, considering that we pay the street debt of $500,000, and then give parks the $1.5 million they want, and then give parks another $500,000 or more. Maybe they all agreed, and then to exactly what, I'm not exactly sure. But it was a direction to staff to come back with a resolution, so it doesn't mean nothing specific has happened yet. And then the council manager plan workshop agreement. The city manager says Portland State University would run a workshop that does, I'm not certain exactly what it does, but there's $8,000 it's going to cost for an in-person workshop in town talking about a city manager form of government and how that works. And that's all approved. That might happen someday. But that's the end of the meeting. You're welcome.